back. Hour number 2 of Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa, Stephanie Burke, and science advisor Matt Moniz, both off tonight. But that's all right, because the silent assassin and I have you covered, old school style. Remember, it was 11 years ago we started doing this?
I don't remember 11 minutes ago.
You don't remember 11 minutes ago?
No.
11 minutes ago we were just talking about ghosts with Sam Baltrusis, our guest, and we'll get right back into the discussion with him in a second. But
big fan of Vienna sausage.
Just saying, 11 years ago, we were sitting here. What's this? 3 weeks after the anniversary. So yeah, like 11 years ago, we were sitting here talking to John Zaffis.
Right.
Which we were like so blown away by the fact that he would even agree to come on our show.
He had Jay-Z.
The original Jay-Z.
Yep.
So all these years later, we're still going strong. 486 shows later.
He hasn't been on in a while.
No, I don't think we've had him on since his uncle passed away. It's all right. We'll see him at Salem Con. I'll start needling him about coming back on the show. He'll do it anytime. We just haven't asked him.
He's a super guy.
We just haven't asked him. That's why. It's our fault, not his. All right, let's get right back into the discussion with tonight's guest, Sam Baltrusis. And Sam, you were telling us about this entity that you've been encountering on the USS Salem.
Yeah, I mean, we had multiple encounters on the USS Salem, but there was the Burning Man. We also encountered pipe smoke that was inexplicable. There's no smoking allowed on USS Salem. But I had a situation where, and of course I thought the Burning Man was kind of like a made-up story, but where the temperature fluctuations go from cold to extremely hot, like roasting hot, within a few minutes, and that happened multiple times with me. And they were like, "Oh, the Burning Man came in the room," but it was definitely the temperature fluctuations just really freaked me out.
Yeah, it's really strange, some of the things that happen there, because if you go back and you look at some of the history, and I know that you have, but when you look at the fact that there wasn't a lot of negative stuff that happened, it was just kind of circumstantial bad things that happened. It wasn't like there was any kind of overtly bad things that happened on the USS Salem. It just was used in some tragic circumstances when it was running as a hospital ship. So it has some of that activity, but overall there's a lot of love on the ship as well. You can feel a lot of the people who served on the ship that are still around it because they loved it and they cared for it.
Yeah, and the love is definitely, when I first was on the vessel before the haunted attraction took place, that you felt that positive energy. It wasn't negative, but I feel like the spirits are very territorial as well. And when we had the haunted attraction, the spirits went haywire, and it went from a loving experience to a not so loving experience as the season progressed.
Huh. Well, I think though with that ship though, the more that we see it all the time with the guides and with the team that works on the ship, or I guess used to. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but when you see a lot of the people who spend a lot of time there, they will tell you like you develop relationships with the spirits. Yeah,
absolutely, and I definitely felt my encounters there was a ghost kid that I experienced a lot on that vessel that I felt pretty attuned with. And even though there was a lot of love on the vessel, I think that the earthquake in Greece really did leave a psychic imprint on that location. So I think there was a lot of energy confusion from the 1953 when they took in all the people from the Ionian earthquake in Greece.
But I mean, again, too, you're dealing with something where, even though there was bad things that happened, it was a very heroic effort on the part of the Salem crew to be able to save as many people as they did. And I know that it weighed on them because we were lucky enough to have somebody on the ship who had served on the ship, and they talked about the weight that played on the crew, where they felt like they just couldn't have done enough. They wish they could have done more for the people who they were trying to rescue. Yeah,
and I think that. And some of the people that died, and I think I'm a big believer that in the stone tape theory. So I think that the energy that may be there, you don't have to necessarily die on the vessel to leave that energy. So I think that some of the people may not be dead that left a sort of psychic imprint on that vessel.
Oh, absolutely, and you can certainly feel it. I love all the nooks and crannies that people don't always go to and check out. That's where you seem to find the most activity too, is in all these weird places. The only bad part is whatever clothes you wore on the ship, you kind of got to burn them afterwards because that ship stink.
Yeah, when I walked on, it was like it smelled like death. I mean, it had the stench to it, and they're like, "Oh, that's the paint." And I'm like, "Oh, there was like an epoxy they put on the ship that I guess all cruisers smell like that, or all naval vessels smell like that." But I was kind of blown away, and I didn't mind that because I loved that at the USS Salem.
It's one of my favorite places to investigate, as long as I'm going not in the months between like the end of May and the end of September. You kind of got to avoid it because it's just so hot.
It's so hot, yeah. And I would like to go back when it's colder, just because I'm kind of curious. I wouldn't say I fled the USS Salem, but I left a week early to do other events that I was working on in October. But I was, by the end of it, it was time for me to go.
Yeah, it's what's good about that though is it gives you the chance to kind of give a case study to one place and be able to document things. And I'm sure you've had that opportunity in other locations too, to be able to go back again and again, like we have with Lizzie Borden's, where you get the chance to just go there time after time and kind of keep a running journal in your own notes of what goes on and be able to start to piece all the pieces together.
Yeah, I'm also I find it interesting that locations that were not necessarily active like 5-10 years ago, they appear on these shows like Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters, and they become very active. And I'm wondering if people bring their own stuff to the vessel, like their own stowaways to the locations.
I've absolutely thought that, and I've also thought and we can get into this certainly, and we definitely will get into this at the Provincetown Paracon, because I can't not talk about these things when I'm giving a lecture. But one of the things that I have an issue with is everybody wants a ghost to be a dead person, and I don't think that it's always the case. I don't think it always has to be a disembodied soul, and I think we go to these places looking at them and thinking that it's haunted, and we can all kind of create ghosts with our own minds. We can create these, thought forms, these what the Tibetans called tulpas. We can put enough energy into a place that we think should be haunted, and we can make it haunted. And I think that's what happens in a lot of these places.
And I definitely feel that for a lot of the locations in my book, 13 Most Haunted in Massachusetts. I think that if you talk to people that investigated it, or before it became a phenomenon, and it became a hot spot for people to investigate, it's a lot more active now than it was 5-10 years ago.
Is there a place that you've had the chance to investigate that, maybe it's not featured in one of your books? Maybe there's a place that you've gone to that hasn't gotten a lot of publicity and you've been able to kind of investigate away from the spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the joys of the Provincetown Paracon. I mean, it's virgin territory. So Adam Berry lives in Provincetown, but he doesn't investigate. When he first started, before he became was part of Ghost Adventures, the Academy, Ghost Hunters Academy. He did do some early investigations, and that's where he got its start. But it's a very untapped resource when it comes to investigations.
It's amazing because I did a lecture at the Provincetown Library a couple of years ago during Halloween season, and I'm setting up and I'm talking with people and I'm asking them about some of their own experiences, and it's not something that a lot of the locals discuss down there.
No, not at all. Yeah, I also did when I wrote my first book, they invited me to do a lecture at the library, and I had like 4 people at my lecture.
I think I had maybe a few more, but but one of them was a dog, so I don't know if I should count that as a because the dog was probably the most attentive out of everybody there. But that's probably because I probably smelled like Burger King. The good thing about it though is you're in an area where Provincetown has a very artsy culture. It has there's a lot of performances that go on there. There's a lot of it's a very it's a very conducive atmosphere to being creative, and it's a very conducive atmosphere to being open-minded. It's the kind of place where you want to go and throw out some of these interesting theories about ghosts, because people might not be tied into one particular theory. And I was kind of shocked that when I was talking to the crowd, like half of them didn't even believe in it. They just wanted something to do on a Tuesday night. It's like, come on, this is great. This is today. We're trying to break down that wall, that barrier of saying, ghosts aren't real. We're past that now. We're trying to figure out what they are. We're accepting that they're real. Now we got to figure out the why.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, like when I was writing my book on Provincetown, in Provincetown, and it's funny that they put on the facade that they don't believe in ghosts. They're really tight-lipped about it. But when you get down, when you spend a lot of time there, people start opening up. And I had the same initial impression that people in Provincetown, which by the way, it's very there's like 1,000 people during off season, and it swells to about 60,000 during the winter. During the summer. So it's a tourist destination. So a lot of people are not there year round, and I think the people that are there year round are the ones who have the paranormal encounters.
Well, and I think a lot of people who have gone to the Cape, they've gone and they've visited the Cape, and they think of Provincetown as being very similar to the rest of the Cape. For anybody that's actually made the drive all the way to Provincetown, it's a different world. You are basically driving off the face of the earth and then finding this little town a couple miles later, because as you're going down through all those dunes and everything, it just seems like utter desolation, like there's nothing around. And then you get to this great vibrant community, and you can understand why they are protective of what goes on there, because they are kind of isolated from everything else.
Yeah, it's very magical. It's kind of a hiding spot for people. Like the mafia was notoriously, they would go to Provincetown. So like Whitey Bulger would stay in Provincetown because he could recharge his batteries, but also kind of like be out of the public eye. So it's a very secretive community that they don't talk about things. They don't talk about what happens in Provincetown stays in Provincetown.
One of the great things about it, though, is, as you said, it's kind of untapped territory for investigation, but you are able to find some places that will be involved in an investigation in conjunction with the Provincetown Paracon.
Yeah, and with that, kind of alluding to what you were talking about, people not being open to it, it's been difficult to find people that are willing to open up their location to be investigated. But we're Adam Berry's friends with, there's the UU Church, which was used as a morgue during the plague of 1918, that is very active, that we're hoping to use as our primary investigation location. And we have to get approvals from the board, of their board of directors. I should know by this week if we can investigate that location.
There's certainly enough weird stories and enough legends and everything that go on there, that even if there aren't haunted places that we can look at per se, or places with a history of haunts per se, there's enough great history around that they might not, there's places that might be haunted that just don't know it yet until we get there. You know what I mean?
Well, Adam, I feel strongly like you throw a rock down Commercial Street, which is the main drag. Any location that you go on Commercial Street has a haunted backstory to it. And because of the history, that's where the Pilgrims first landed before they came into Plymouth. So it goes back, it's the very beginnings, and it also has a very strong Native backstory too, and Revolutionary War, Civil War era history, and then it became a major fishing area, and the whaling industry was huge in Provincetown.
Well, I definitely want to get more into this coming up in just a couple minutes here. We have two calls on the line, and I know who one of them is, so I'm going to just ask her to hang on for a second and take this other call. Good evening. You're on Spooky South Coast with Sam Baltrusis. How are you?
Hello?
Hi. You're on the air.
There's a spot down in Fort Rodman where, where the entrance goes, those tunnels go underneath. At Fort Rodman, on the beach. It's totally, there's spirits in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just walking at the door, like ever since I was, I'm in my 50s now, but even since I was a teenager or up to 20 years old, when we go near there, the entrances to I guess those are shelters, the bomb shelters.
To Battery Milliken?
What's that?
The battery that's in the back, the one that's in the hill, or the smaller ones up front?
Yeah, the ones that are in the back where you could it's right there at the ocean.
Yes. Yep.
Right there. As soon as, I'm outside of it, I'm okay. But as soon as you go right into one, I can feel it immediately. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
feel that the spirits are right there, and it just kind of tickles me. I get this feeling, this sensation of that I can feel them. And
Well-
there are definitely people who were killed in there, tortured in there, because I can feel that there's screaming still going
Well,
on.
those stones hold it in. I can tell you, I've had some of my strangest experiences at Fort Rodman. So I mean, it's really it's a very, very haunted place. The whole park is completely haunted.
Yeah, I'm glad you confirmed that, because I've always had these feelings, and I've told people, and they're like, "Nah, you're crazy. That stuff doesn't exist." But you just confirmed what I just said about all those feelings that I've had, and you just confirmed it, and it's like it's
And-
really. And even if I'm outside of it, I think I'm all right. But as soon as I go right near the entrance to those places, I feel them.
Well, now's the time where I have to put in my disclaimer that you're not allowed to trespass in any of those places. For anybody that's listening, don't go into Battery Milliken. Don't go into these
No.
places at night. Don't do anything without permission down there, because
Right.
the city gets very upset when we start talking about how haunted it is, and then people show up trying to investigate. So, just got to throw that disclaimer out there. All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you very much for the call.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Bye bye.
And now let's bring in our other caller. Good evening. You're on Spooky South Coast.
Hey guys, how are you?
It's Stephanie Burke. Sam.
It is.
We pulled her away from the party down there for a few moments. She was drinking the cuckoo cola with the cult. I mean, partying with the
I
It Works
still
people.
am.
Okay.
I still am. Yes. I'm actually standing by the water on Tampa Bay right now, surrounded by palm trees. But I miss you guys so much, I decided to call in.
Well, of course, you will be there at the Provincetown Paracon.
I absolutely will, and I am so excited to go. You have no idea.
So one of the things that we were talking about is the fact that it's such a great place to be. It's such a great, vibrant community anyway. On top of being a place that's very haunted. And for those, Stephanie, who aren't from the area, just tell them how great Provincetown is overall.
Oh, absolutely. It's the absolute tip of Cape Cod. You can't get any further out if you tried. It's beautiful down there, especially that time of year, but all the shops and the restaurants and just the feel of Old Cape Cod is amazing, and it's full of great energy and haunted energy, and I can't wait to bring the boom to Provincetown.
And Sam, one of the things that we are familiar with Stephanie here on the show is, she has no problem with ghosts. She has no problem with encountering us. She's terrified of aliens. So I think
I am completely terrified of
when she
aliens.
sees that wide open sky out there in Provincetown, she's going to start getting a little nervous, keeping an eye on the sky.
Yeah, just heads up, but it's actually Truro, which is the town right coming into Provincetown that has the UFO backstory.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, maybe I'll stay in my hotel room. No, I'm just kidding. I won't. But I guess I call it the fear of the unknown. It's funny. You can send me to a place that has negative energy, that, rumors of demonic anything, spirits, ghosts, whatever it may be, maybe even Bigfoot. But aliens, I have not tackled aliens yet, and I am not entirely sure if I'm willing to. So maybe we'll find out that night.
Well, if anybody's going to get abducted by aliens that night, it'll be you, because it ain't going to be me.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. But I'll make you the
ladies
sacrifice.
first. Ladies first.
No. Have you ever seen The Walking Dead, where they sacrifice the guy first? That's going to be you, not me.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out. We got some time. All right. Well, thank you for checking in.
Thank you.
You guys partying down there? Say hi to everybody for us.
Yes, I definitely will. We're having a great time, but I wanted to check in, and obviously, Sam's there, and I wasn't able to come and meet him and talk in person, but I wanted to call you guys and at least say hi, because I'm here and I'm sad that I'm missing out, and I'm not so sad about the snow though. So
yeah, you're definitely missing out on that. Hey, I know that there's a pay-per-view tomorrow, so he's probably not around, but if you happen to see Chris Jericho, just remember you guys are friends now, so you can go right up to him.
all right, sounds great.
All
I will
right.
definitely do that.
Have a good night.
All right, bye guys. Thanks.
Bye, Stephanie.
See,
Bye.
that goes back to the last time the first time she was down there for one of those conventions. She actually ran into Chris Jericho at the hotel bar and was like sending me pictures and telling me like, Chris Jericho's here, knowing what a huge fan I am of his. And we had the chance to work with him on a TV project last year. So now she has no reason not to go up to him and talk to him. So, but yeah, he's a big paranormal guy. You should look into getting him for future conventions.
Yeah, I've actually heard about that, and I'm definitely. I think that you bring in the bigger names and people, want to meet these people. So I maybe my next Paracon I will invite him.
I don't think it gets any bigger than the lineup that you have now. I mean, you got a schlub like me, but you also got great names like Adam Berry and Amy Bruni will be there, and of course. This is the part that I'm excited about. I've known Greg and Dana Newkirk for years now from doing this show, from talking to them on the show and talking to them about different paranormal things. I've never actually seen the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult, and it will be there at Provincetown Paracon.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be there on Friday. They're the headliners for the Friday night VIP party. And if you are a VIP pass holder, you're going to be able to see their Traveling Museum of the Paranormal before anybody else. So that this is from 7 to 8 o'clock, and then the party starts at 8 o'clock. I recommend getting the VIP pass so you can actually see the museum before the masses see the museum.
And this isn't just like a museum where stuff is under glass and you're going to walk by and look. They actually have you hold the objects and interact with the objects after you sign the waiver, of course, because they don't want to be responsible for anything that attaches itself to you. But you can actually see these objects and touch them yourself and hear the stories that they have about these, because this is crazy stuff that they're talking about, and then you find out like it's all true. As crazy as it sounds, it's all true. These things have spirits attached to them, and wherever they bring them, it seems the activity follows.
Yeah, I'm a little wary of where are they going to keep all that. I think they're going to keep it out back overnight, but I'm very excited about especially the Amityville horror plaque that was on. There was on Mysteries at the Museum this on last Thursday. That really intrigues me.
From what I understand, the only thing you really have to worry about is Billy the Idol.
Oh yeah,
that's the one that causes all the problems.
Oh, that's great.
It's got the best name out of any haunted object ever, Billy the Idol. But they'll be there, and as I mentioned before, and you had mentioned Adam Berry will be there, and Amy Bruni, the stars of Kindred Spirits, and I can tell you that I've had the chance to investigate with Amy and Adam. I've had the chance to spend time with them. You couldn't ask for two better people. They're people who have been on TV, but they're not TV stars. They're regular people. They're regular investigators, and they will hang out with everybody. They will investigate with people. They'll talk to you just like you're a person, and they're just very down to earth, and they want to know about what it is that you do, and they want to know about what it is that you use. And I have to say, I could get into a conversation with either one of them for hours about little minutia of the paranormal that I don't think really anybody else would be able to offer the same insight that they can.
Yeah, Adam and I met Adam when I wrote my first book, Ghosts to Boston, and we've been friends since then. And I've actually never met Amy in person, so I'm really looking forward to working with her. I heard great. I mean, definitely as an investigator, she's one of the best out there.
And what's great about them together is they have such a chemistry and such a connection, and it works with other people too. Like when you investigate with them, it's like automatically you just tune into the same vibe that they're on. Everybody's on the same wavelength. I investigated, the caller had called in and talked about Fort Rodman. I investigated over at Fort Rodman with Amy, and stuff was just going crazy. And she's looking at me saying, everybody talks about all these cases we've done on TV, but this is some of the craziest stuff that I've ever seen. And that's what's great about it is they have that perspective that they can put things into because they've been to all these places.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Fort Rodman, Fort Tabor, because I know that's more your territory, but I first heard about the hauntings there a couple years ago. And actually, when I talked with Sherry, she's on Ghost Hunters, Cherie, she mentioned that they were going to investigate that. The Ghost Hunters were going to investigate that location. I've actually never been there, and I've heard amazing stories about the hauntings there.
It's unfortunately now the city has really cracked down on things. They don't really let people in, and we used to be able to run an event like once a year over there where we could have everybody go in and investigate. And they were able to get access to all of Fort Rodman. They'd get access to Battery Milliken, which nobody's allowed into except for our events. They would never let people just walk in there during the day. It had to be part of our events to get in there legally. And the city shut all that stuff down. So even if we wanted to run an event, they said you can only have Fort Rodman and you can only stay in the little bit of grass on the first level, and that's it. And I was just like, oh, nobody wants to do that, man. That's like just going in and walking around. That's a tease. Look at all these places that are so awesome, but no, you can't go into them. Yeah. So, hopefully we can get the city to kind of get on our side and realize, like, yes, there was some liability involved, but everybody signs the waivers, and we can get the insurance, and it's just a great moneymaker for the Fort Rodman Historical Society, which isn't making a lot of money otherwise.
And that's the same situation in Boston. Like I've given tours in Boston Harbor, and Fort Warren would be perfect for an investigation, but they, to be able to have an investigation crew out there is a logistical nightmare. So I run across it all the time. But Boston and also Salem as well. Salem is very difficult for people to allow you to investigate in Salem.
Salem is very much, from what I understand, and you've spent a lot of time there. You spend a lot of time talking to the people that are involved in these things there. It's a very much a community where they're very tight knit and they don't let a lot of outsiders in. So they're not really opening up the doors for people to come in and hold events or have investigations. It's very much, it's very restrictive up there.
Yeah, I mean, Salem is my home area. Like as far as I give tours there, and a lot of my tours are history tours. So I know all the people in the inner circle, and yeah, absolutely, they're very protective of outsiders coming in. They would open the doors for me, but I still have to jump through hoops, and I work there.
Yeah, that's the hard part about it. And the other thing, you had mentioned Fort Warren, which has a great story. There's a great history to that, and a lot of reports that happen there. And we looked into trying to run an event there. And of course, being part of the parks department, at first we were told we would have to rent out for the same as a wedding would, and it would be $9,000 just to get it for one night. Yeah. And then when we told them exactly what we were doing, they're like, "Oh no, never mind. We would never allow that." I'm like, but first of all, there's no way I'm giving you $9,000 because it's not profitable enough to give you $9,000. But if we did, then what's the point? We're paying you the same as a wedding. How is it more disrespectful for somebody to walk around trying to connect with your history than it is for people just, dancing the funky chicken?
Well, to give them some, credit, on Pettix Island, which is close by, and actually to me it's more haunted than George's Island, is with Fort Warren. But there was a death. There were people investigating within one of the forts, and that have been long condemned, and they fell down an elevator shaft and died. So there may be safety issues that they were concerned. But really with George's Island and Fort Warren, it's safe for the public. They have hundreds of people that come in daily. There should be no problem with Fort Warren.
Is there, in looking at all these places, all these locations that you've done with tours and written about in your books, is there one place that you can't get people into that you would love to be able to get people into?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big on lighthouses, and Boston Light, I love Boston Light. It was like Frank Grace and I went out to Boston Light, and we were interrogated while we were out there. So it would be probably the lighthouses, specifically Boston Light.
There's a lot of places that in Boston, that have a rich history that, they might not have the ghost stories coming out of them, but you just look at them and that place must be haunted. And one of the places that a lot of people have talked about that with us is the Old North Church. And we're friends with a reenactor who actually has done stuff there and said, "Oh yeah, no, that place is definitely haunted." And that's why I don't understand why places like that don't embrace that side of things.
Yeah, I actually, so I take odd jobs to be able to get inside these locations. So I talked to the people at Old North Church, and it's in my book, Haunted Boston Harbor, that came out last year with the History Press. And everyone that you talk to there, they tell you that it's haunted. And the same with so Old North Church would be on the top of my list of places that should be investigated, but because of the powers that be, they don't want you to investigate there. But everyone that I talked to said they had multiple stories at Old North Church.
But that must be something that bothers you as somebody who's involved in the history side of things, as well as talking about the ghost stories, is that there are all these great places that could embrace this. How many of these heritage museums are kicking around that are barely surviving? They're not getting any tourism dollars at all. But then you say to them, well, we could bring you a whole new avenue of visitor and a whole new revenue stream by focusing on the haunted history of the place. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. It's like that connotation is still there for people that they're afraid to get involved with it.
Yeah, my book launch for Ghost of Boston was at the Old South Meeting House, and Adam Berry was there. And we did an investigation the night before the book sign, or the couple weeks before the book signing, and extremely active. Old South Meeting House is in the middle of downtown, and we were able to go up to the top of the steeple area, or the area, the Belvedere, and the cupola, and it was just amazing. I would say that's another location that I would love to investigate, but because of logistics and bureaucracy, they're not willing to open their doors. And all these locations are struggling to survive. And if they opened it up to the paranormal community, I think that they would make a lot more money, which is, if you look at the history of Boston Harbor, the way that Everett Rose Snow, who initially wrote about the Lady in Black on Fort Warren and George's Island, saved that island. And it was in really bad state, and by talking about the ghost lore associated with that island, in essence, hundreds of people came to visit for the ghosts.
Well, one of the sometimes it can go the other way too, though, because if a place does open up for the paranormal community, and if they're too open for the paranormal community, that can also create a negative backlash within that field too. Because a place that I know you're familiar with is the S.K. Pierce Mansion, and a lot of people have condemned both the previous owners and the current owners, saying, all you're doing is just opening this place up for investigation. You're not really taking, you're not really doing a service by having anybody come in there. And so you can't please everybody. Some places won't let you in at all, and then some places that are trying to be open and give you full access so that you can actually be able to investigate and figure out what's going on. There's a backlash against that too.
Yeah, and I'm friendly with the new owner of the S.K. Pierce Victorian Mansion, and that was actually number one on my most haunted list, because I do think it is one of the more haunted locations in Massachusetts. And I think there's a way to do it, and we haven't figured it out yet. There's a nice balance between opening it up to the paranormal community, but also making it a destination for people who are not interested in the paranormal.
Listen, I was there in November. We ran an event there in November, and first of all, every time I go, I have insane activity take place, but I'm seeing what the money that they're raising is going into. I'm seeing the renovations that they're making. If people going in there and running around in the dark and yelling in the dark is what helps generate the money to be able to restore that place, then I'm perfectly fine with it, and I think other people should be as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And the renovation aspect, I'm so happy with how it's shaping up, and I think that they're opening that soon, right? They're going to open it up to the public. I think people are actually doing investigations coming up very soon.
Yeah, well, we did one in November, and it was one of the first ones that they had allowed back, because we were actually the last one under the Legend Trips banner. We were the last ones to investigate there before it got shut down by the town, and then later on, Edwin and Lillian sold it. So when we found out, when we first got the chance to meet the new owners, we said, we'd love to come back and do something. And they said, we'd love to have you come back. So actually November of last year was the first time we were able to get in. And I know that they were still in the process, like they still didn't have a toilet in yet.
Yeah.
The water still wasn't running. So, there's still a lot of things that needed to be done then. And I know that they were definitely set on doing a bunch of stuff over the course of the winter, because they want to make sure that they can open up as a bed and breakfast relatively soon.
Yeah, and I think that this is a perfect example of, I think they're going to do well based on, and you see the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast I would say is a success when it comes to kind of balancing both the paranormal community and the outside world. So I think if they kind of take that same plan of attack, I think that they'll do very well.
There's a lot of places that, there's a lot of places that I think have people who are good stewards of the location, but they're just, you can kind of tell when people are running an inn just to run an inn. You can tell when people are running a bed and breakfast just to run a bed and breakfast. But when you have somebody that's doing that business side of it, but then also putting in the restoration efforts like Leanne has done with Lizzie Borden's and like they're doing with the S.K. Pierce Mansion, it just takes it to another level, because that it's not just money for them. It's not just income. It's not just revenue. It's a passion. And when they have that passion, I think that actually helps as investigators, because we want to go to a place where people are putting that kind of energy into it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what motivated it. Like my 13 Most Haunted, it's a countdown list. So it ranks the most haunted locations in Massachusetts, and I'm going to do it for other things as well. And I decided to make the S.K. Pierce Victorian Mansion number one because of that. because of the new owners and the fact that they were passionate about the restoration. I wanted to put a spotlight on that location specifically.
Yeah, and I just want to take a step back to Provincetown Paracon for a second, too, because I left his name out when I was talking about the people who will be there. And I don't want people to sleep on the fact that Peter Muse will be at this event. He is one of the greatest folklorists out there. We've had him on the show before. This is a guy who just is an encyclopedia of all these great folk stories and legends of the area. And it's just going to be awesome being able to pick his brain for an entire weekend.
Yeah, Peter Muse is my good friend, and we both write for the same publisher. And I met him a couple of years ago at a book signing at the Boston Books Festival, and we've been friends ever since. And he is amazing. He's my go-to guy for folklore. And with a lot of the story, I find that we'll have different takes on the same story, and we can talk about it. And usually it's online, but sometimes we'll meet up and talk about the ghost stories. And he's definitely someone that doesn't get a lot of the limelight, but deserves the limelight.
Yeah, and what's great about it is, when you talk to him, it's he's telling you the stories, but he's a storyteller at the same time.
Oh yeah,
and it's so easy to get kind of wrapped up in and then you got to see when you're talking with him, because he's not a paranormal researcher, so you're getting somebody who can tell you that side of things, and you start to realize like this all has to work together. It all has to work in concert. The legends, the folklore, the mythologies, the actual research, the experiences. It all has to kind of be thrown into the pot to make one good soup.
Yeah, it's interesting when Peter signed his forte, if there's any specialty, he's going to actually focus on magical creatures in Massachusetts. So it's going to be like a cryptid type discussion in Provincetown. But he's kind of the expert on witches as well. And when he wrote his book, Legends and Lore of the North Shore, our publisher told him not to write any ghost lore because of my books. And we kind of chuckled talking about that because he had to write the whole book without any ghost stories in his book.
One of the things about Provincetown, too, is there's been a lot of like true crime stories that have come out of that area.
Yeah, and that's like I was alluding to that a little earlier, because there's the Lady of the Dunes case, which I would love to revisit that as a group and kind of approach it with. We have in my opinion, some of the best paranormal investigators in New England coming together and maybe revisiting the Lady of the Dunes case. I in my book, I kind of talk about the potential ties to Whitey Bulger, but I would love if we can somehow, even we have a lot of psychics coming as well, and maybe revisit it in that realm too, to maybe give her a name. This woman was savagely murdered. She was dismembered and left on Race Point Beach, and I think that I would like to approach it with a paranormal lens and to be able to maybe give her a name.
See, I actually I mentioned it in my book, Ghost of the South Coast, and also like when I do lectures and I talk about the haunted area around here, I always go back to the first ghost story of the New World, at least the first English ghost story of the New World. It goes all the way back to the actual founding of Cape Cod. It goes all the way back to Gosnold and him disappearing and his ship being seen, floating out there. We could actually be standing out there on the beach and see a phantom ship float by.
Yeah. Well, there are multiple reports in Provincetown of that. In fact, Adam Berry, I didn't put it in my book, but when I talked to Adam about the hauntings of Provincetown a couple of years ago, he had a ghost ship encounter.
Wow. Well, we'll definitely make him tell that story, though, when we're there.
Yeah.
And what I think is going to be a fantastic part about this event is it's going to be, first of all, if anybody out there is listening not from New England and you're thinking about making the trip, when you come here, the paranormal community in New England is unlike anywhere else. We all work together. We're all friends. We all share stuff. We know that we can call somebody up and be like, "Hey, do you have one of these? I need to borrow it for the week." That's just how it works here. It's not like all these other areas where there's infighting and people backstabbing and all that stuff. It's a big family here. And what's great about it is it's a big family that's been doing a lot of great work that you probably haven't heard about because there's a lot of folks here that don't seek out the spotlight. So for anybody that's listening, because I know we have a worldwide audience, anybody that's looking for a reason to come to New England, this is the reason to come, because you're going to get the chance to be with all these people in a very, it's going to be relatively low key because it's just at the beginning of this. So it's not really quite the tourism season yet down there, right?
Yeah, and I purposely did that because in 2 weeks after the Provincetown Paracon, it's going to swell to like 60,000 people. So we are right before what they call Switch Week, So it has the off-season vibe to it in May, but yet you have the weather and the beauty that people come all over the world to experience, and we're going to experience that, but with our paranormal friends.
And it's May 12th to the 14th. If we haven't mentioned the dates, you can get all the tickets and information at provincetownparacon.com. And I think you said there was actually some deals that recently came out.
Yeah, so I strongly recommend doing the VIP ticket. So you go to provincetownparacon.com, click on the upper right-hand corner and get a VIP ticket. I do have still some $113 weekend VIP tickets still available. So I recommend that. We did launch a Groupon today, but those are for specific events. We have the Friday night VIP party, which is the headliners are going to be Dana and Greg with the Traveling Paranormal Museum. And then Saturday is the lecture, which is from 9 to 5, and you have multiple people, including Peter Muse and you and Stephanie and John Brightman and Amy and Adam on Saturday. And then there's the investigation, which is also on the Groupon for Saturday night from 8 o'clock until probably midnight, but I think Amy has to leave a little early, so we may not do an overnighter, but it'll be up until midnight at least.
Yeah, I mean, usually, you've got a long day of events and lectures and everything coming together. So, usually people start to peter out around that time anyway. So
yeah.
There's no shame in running out of steam toward the end of the night. Nobody will fault you if you do. I personally will probably be all Mountain Dewed up for the night, so I will keep going. But just don't leave me behind because I get scared of the dark. So
yeah. And Adam really wants to do like the kind of a post-investigation like party, so they may go to like a local bar after.
Oh yeah, have you been to a paranormal convention before or after an investigation?
No, and that's the thing. Like I personally, because I don't drink, so I kind of stay away from those things. But yeah, I've heard some great stories from those.
It's awesome because everybody goes out and they do the investigation and they have these experiences, and then they come back and they have a few drinks in them. So then there's no shame in sharing any of these stories. So that's when people will be like, "Oh my God, you won't believe what as opposed to being more reserved if they're just like, "Oh yeah, some weird things happened." So, but you had mentioned the special right now to get the VIP access. It's only $113. It's only good for a couple more days before that special runs out. So make sure you get on right now on the provincetownparacon.com website and get it, because that's a fantastic deal to have access to everything for $113.
Yeah, and it also, there's a dinner on Saturday as well that the VIPs have access to. And I think that, to me, the most exciting access that you have is the Paranormal Travel Museum, the Traveling Paranormal Museum with Dana and Greg. I think that you're going to be blown away with what they bring. So, and then also, if you want to stay there, you actually have a room deal going as well. Yeah, so if you want to stay at the host hotel at the Provincetown Inn, use the code GHOST to get a discount. They're giving us a 20% discount, and it's also off season, so the tickets for the rooms are actually very reasonable. They quadruple. After in busy season, they're like $300 to $400 a night, but we're getting them as low as $99 a night. So highly recommend going to that, getting a room. It doesn't have to be at the host hotel. There's other options as well. Trust me, you want to get a room. You want to stay there because there's going to be all kinds of stuff going on. All kinds of stuff will just randomly happen. There'll just be a random group that'll be like, hey, let's all go do this. So you definitely want to stay there and be close by to all the action that's happening. And plus, why wouldn't you want to stay there and get such a great deal to stay down there? Because you can never afford to stay there any other time without shelling out 2 or 3 times as much. And then the other thing is like people have to realize you're going to be in the middle of nowhere out there. So you're going to want to stay where everybody else is. Yeah. It's not like you run into McDonald's, it's like an hour away. Yeah, it's literally like the hotel is literally at the very end of Provincetown, so you're at the end of the world. And it is. And what's great about it, it's kind of an old school hotel, and it's allegedly very haunted as well. It kind of reminds me of like the Stanley Hotel, even though it's more of like a 50s, 60s vibe to it. But it has that old haunted hotel vibe to it. And we will certainly take full advantage of that. That's for sure. When we're walking around, and, like I said, you never know what's going to pop up. You never know when people are going to be like, "Let's go do this. Let's go do that." And when you have a town that's willing to welcome it, and you have people that are willing to welcome it, that's a good thing, because you can actually get to talk to people, and you can find out the real story that's going on, and not just what makes it to TV in a lot of cases. And you can actually find out the cultural impact that ghosts can have on an area. So I love this because it's not just about going to one
spot. You're not just going to investigate one location. You're going there to actually soak up the culture of an entire community. So it'll just be a great event.
Yeah, the main star of the Provincetown Paracon is Provincetown.
Absolutely. So again, ProvincetownParacon.com is the website for that. If you want to find out more about Sam's books, you can just go to Amazon.com and search for his name, Sam Baltrusis. You'll find all of his books up there so that you can either buy them, and some of them are available as ebooks as well. And if you want to find out more about his radio show, which tell everybody about the radio show, because you only just recently started that up.
Yeah, so 13 Most Haunted, it's every Friday night from 7 to 8 o'clock. Truthfully, it is a way for me to do research for my books but I'm doing it on a radio show. So it's kind of like what I normally do as a paranormal researcher. I interview people about their haunted experiences, but I'm doing it where other people can kind of you chime in and listen to what's going on. So far, it's doing very well. And
you don't just have the chance to listen; you can actually watch it while it's going on. I've been able to jump in the last couple of weeks just for a few minutes while I was here finishing up my work.
Yeah.
And you can certainly see everything in its entirety right on 13mosthaunted.com. And I just think that we're going to show the world when they come here. We're going to show them how great the New England community is, and they'll want to come back. They'll want to see Boston with you. They'll want to see Salem with you, and we'll win people over and let them realize our ghosts are the best ghosts.
Our ghosts are definitely the best ghosts. So come to New England, come to Provincetown, and we will show you the best paranormal experience ever.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sam. Look forward to actually meeting you in person and getting to hang out coming up in May, if not sooner.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Salem Con, so I hope maybe we'll bump into each other then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. We'll have to make sure that we cause some trouble.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. All right. Well, you have a great night. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Tim.
All right, that is Sam Baltrusis. You can, again, check out all of his stuff at 13mosthaunted.com, the number 13mosthaunted.com. So, Matt, have you been to Provincetown? I know that you went before,
I have.
like in the past, but I mean, have you been there?
Nothing for paranormal related, though.
But have you been there recently, like in the last, 5 or 10 years?
A couple of years ago, I think I went, yeah. Climbed the tower.
Oh, I see. I've never done that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things on my list for that weekend.
Yeah, it's good for do it once. Because it's tiring. There's a lot of stairs.
That's how I feel about climbing anything.
There's a lot of
do
stairs.
Do it one time. Yeah, I did it once. That's enough. I made it. So, but it should be a great weekend. As I said, people are coming from all over. I'm already seeing people saying they're coming from all over for this. So it's going to be fantastic. Are you going to try and sneak down? You gotta
maybe, because I've never seen the traveling museum.
Yeah, right. That
seems to be the top draw.
Everybody raves about it.
They're like, Weisberg's going to be there, but
right, yeah. It almost makes up for the fact that I'm going to be there because Greg and Dana are coming with the museum. So, and congratulations to them. They just launched a new membership service for the museum online.
Oh,
so you
awesome.
actually can get involved, and you can, they have cameras where you can watch the objects, and they have all these different events that they do that they're going to be doing for members. But they're also doing this really cool thing where I guess they went out and got a 3D printer.
Oh, really?
So they're going to make like 3D replicas of the objects in the museum, and then they're gonna, you can buy them.
Oh,
so that'll be pretty cool, because I get a feeling that if you're buying this 3D printed object that's made, in their house or wherever they're keeping the stuff in the museum, and you're buying it from them, like there's a chance something could attach itself to what you're buying. So I want to see if I can get a 3D printed version of Billy the Idol.
Yeah.
So
that's a great name, by the way.
It really is. They're the best. So absolutely, I hope to see everybody at that event. I hope to see everybody back here next Saturday night when our guest will be Seth Breedlove. You remember back when he made the Minerva Monster documentary? Well, now things are just going crazy with Seth. He's got a bunch of projects in the works, stuff coming out. He's become the go-to guy now for these monster documentaries. So we're going to be talking with him about his latest work, and we'll talk more about all the great stuff that he's been investigating, the stuff that he's been researching, but also what the response has been to them, because it's really brought some of these smaller, more obscure creatures into the limelight. So we'll talk with Seth Breedlove next week on Spooky South Coast. All kinds of great guests coming forward in the coming months and weeks and years, I guess, because we're not going anywhere. So we will have plenty of paranormal talk for you each and every Saturday night. SpookySouthCoast.com is the website. If you ever miss a show, you can get them all right there. And from our free apps, stay spooktacular.